The transmission echoed across every known system, a declaration of war so absolute it sent shockwaves through the entire galactic community. The Koran Dominion, an empire spanning thousands of star systems, had just announced its intention to exterminate humanity. Admiral Rannick of the Korans, speaking with chilling arrogance, declared, "You are an infestation, a mistake of evolution. Your kind will be erased from existence. The Dominion will make it as if you never existed." Billions of humans heard those words. On colonies, military outposts, and Earth itself, and billions clenched their fists in response. For most species, such a declaration would have meant surrender. The Korans had wiped out dozens of civilizations before, their war fleets unstoppable, and they expected humanity to beg, to fall to their knees. Instead, they got a response. A single video sent back to Dominion High Command showing a human soldier, battle-worn and bloodied, standing in the ruins of New Moscow on the colony world of Grom 4. His armor scorched, his face streaked with both human and alien blood, and he smiled as he said, "Congratulations. You just declared war on the galaxy's deadliest species." Then he cut the transmission. The war had begun. The Koran Dominion, undefeated for millennia, moved like a storm across the galaxy, consuming planets, enslaving species, and erasing those who resisted, but they had never fought humans before. On Grom 4, the first true battle was already underway. The Korans expected a quick, effortless slaughter, but instead found themselves caught in a bloodbath. Major Elias Carter crouched behind a half-destroyed barricade, sweat dripping as he surveyed the carnage. Koran bodies littered the streets, their dark blue blood staining the ruins, and the alien warriors, expecting to march through unchallenged, were being torn apart by human resistance fighters using guerrilla tactics, jury-rigged explosives, and sheer, unrelenting fury. "Status!" Carter barked into his comms. "Still holding, sir," came Lieutenant Vasquez's reply, her unit barely keeping the Korans from encircling them, but running low on ammo. Carter grimaced. They all knew Grom 4 was doomed. The Korans had sent a full invasion force, and no help was coming. Earth's fleets were still mobilizing. Their orders were simple. Make the Korans bleed, hold as long as you can, and if you have to fall back, leave them a parting gift. In the distance, Koran war machines rumbled through the city, plasma cannons leveling buildings, but humans didn't fight fair. They struck from the shadows, planted traps, lured the Korans into ambushes, and every street the enemy took, they paid for in blood. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread, and other civilizations, long cowed by the Dominion, watched in disbelief as humans, mere upstarts, fought back. Then something happened that no one expected. The Dominion's High Council received a report that chilled them to their core. A small human strike team had infiltrated a Koran battleship, slaughtered its crew, and hijacked it. No species had ever done that before. For the first time in Koran history, they felt fear. The KDS Varrock, a planetary siege battleship, was meant to be unstoppable, a symbol of Dominion supremacy. Now it belonged to humanity. Inside the bridge, Captain Daniel Rohr stood over the command console, his hand shaking from the insanity of what they'd just pulled off. His team, Marines, engineers, hackers, still covered in Koran blood. "We actually did it," whispered Lieutenant Harper. "Damn right we did," Rohr replied. "Now let's make sure it was worth it." The Korans had underestimated humanity's adaptability, thinking their ships too complex, their systems too alien, but humans had spent centuries reverse engineering everything they could. The moment they had control, Harper and her techs ripped into the systems like scavengers. Rohr turned to his comms officer. "Get me a direct line to Admiral Kasari. Earth needs to hear about this." The transmission was sent, and soon Admiral Kasari, leader of Earth's defense fleet, appeared on the main screen, her normally cold expression breaking for just a second with shock and exhilaration. "You're telling me you've hijacked a Corran battleship?" she asked. Roar smirked. "We didn't just hijack it, Admiral. We're about to use it." The Dominion was scrambling. No species had ever stolen one of their ships, and the High Council was in uproar, their confidence shaken. But humanity wasn't done humiliating them. Instead of fleeing, Roar and his team turned the Varric against its former masters. As a Corran fleet approached Grom 4, the stolen battleship opened fire, catching the enemy off guard. The first ship was destroyed before it could raise shields. The second hesitated, confused by Harper's hacked communications, and that hesitation cost them. The human fleet, now mobilized, dropped out of hyperspace, and for the first time in history, a Corran fleet was ambushed. On the ground, Major Carter and his fighters watched as fire rained from the sky, at first fearing more Corran reinforcements, but then Carter's comm crackled. "Major, this is Captain Roar aboard the Varric. We're giving these bastards a taste of their own medicine." Carter stared at the sky, watching the once invincible Dominion forces panic, a slow grin spreading across his bloodied face. "About damn time," he muttered. The impossible had happened. The Dominion had declared war on humanity, but now, for the first time, they realized their mistake. They hadn't declared war on just another species, but on the deadliest fighters in the galaxy, and humanity was just getting started. The battle over Grom 4 was a massacre, but not for humanity. The Corran fleet was in ruins. What remained retreating, broken, and humiliated. On the surface, the last of the Corran ground forces scrambled to evacuate, but Carter and his fighters weren't about to let that happen. They had suffered under occupation, watched their cities burn, their people executed. Now it was payback. Carter spat on the ground, rallying his battered but unbroken fighters. "They think they can do this to us and just walk away. Hell no, we finish this." A chorus of war cries erupted as the humans charged forward. Across the galaxy, word of Grom 4 spread like wildfire. The once invincible Dominion had suffered the unthinkable. Defeat at the hands of an inferior species. For the first time, they weren't erasing civilizations. They were being hunted. The stolen Varric, now fully under human control, wasn't just a trophy. It was a weapon, and Roar's crew began modifying it, stripping out Corran tech, replacing it with human ingenuity, making it something far more dangerous. Then came the transmission that changed everything. Admiral Kasari, broadcast across every colony, outpost, and ship, declared, "This war is no longer about survival. The Corran Dominion thought they could erase us. They thought we would break. They were wrong. We are not just fighting back. We are hunting them now." Cheers erupted across Earth and every human colony. This wasn't just about defense anymore. It was vengeance. Deep in Dominion space, the High Council was in chaos, their chamber now a battleground of arguments and fear. "This should not have happened," Admiral Rannick raged. "Humans were supposed to be an easy conquest." "We underestimated them," another warlord growled. "Their ability to adapt, to retaliate, it's unlike anything we've seen." "And now," another counselor added, "they are coming for us." For the first time, the Corrans faced an enemy that refused to kneel, that learned from its losses, that when pushed to the brink didn't just survive, it evolved. The first human counteroffensive in Dominion space began with fire and fury, using the Varric as their spearhead. Earth's forces launched a surgical strike deep into Corran territory, targeting Velrath, a heavily fortified supply world. A full-scale invasion was suicide, but humans never fought fair. Instead, Roar and his team piloted the Varric into the system under false Dominion codes, and as the Quran fleet realized too late who was piloting, the humans activated a kill switch. Harper and her techs had rigged the Varric to detonate its entire fuel core in a controlled chain reaction. Roar's last transmission. Congratulations, you just lost another planet. The Varric, on a collision course, exploded over Velrath's main supply hubs, the shockwave crippling the Quran war effort in that sector. Fuel depots wiped out, supply chains shattered. The Dominion had spent centuries perfecting conquest, but no one had ever dared fight them like this. And this was just the beginning. The Qurans weren't just losing ships and planets. They were losing something far worse, their reputation. Across the galaxy, species once cowed by Dominion rule began to watch closely. If humans could fight back, if they could bleed the unbled, maybe they weren't alone. Insurgencies flared on Quarren-controlled worlds, slave species rebelled, supply lines were sabotaged, patrols ambushed, and military commanders hunted in their own territories. The Qurans had ruled by fear. Now they were the ones afraid. The High Council convened again, their chamber filled with unease. "We cannot allow this to continue," Rannick growled. "The humans must be eradicated, all of them." "But how?" another demanded. "They fight like nothing we've seen. They sacrifice ships to take down fleets. They destroy supply chains instead of claiming them. They don't fight for territory. They fight to kill us." The words hung heavy. The Qurans had always believed themselves the galaxy's apex predators. But now they had awakened something worse. Not prey, not an enemy, but a species that, when pushed to the brink, became monstrous. They had awakened humanity. Back on Earth, Admiral Kasari stood in the War Command Center, staring at the holographic battle map. The Dominion still held thousands of worlds. Their fleets outnumbered humanity's 100 to 1. But now the war wasn't about numbers. It was about strategy, about fear. "We don't need to defeat the Dominion in open war," Kasari said. "We just need to break them." A new plan formed, a war not of territory, but of annihilation. Their supply chains, their command structure, their very belief in their own power. "We take it all," she said. "Let's show them what happens when you declare war on the deadliest species in the galaxy." The war was no longer about survival. It was about dominance, and humanity was just getting started. The Quran homeworld was a fortress, the heart of an empire that had ruled unchallenged for centuries, and no species had ever dared strike at it, until now. Earth's military command devised a strategy so audacious, so insane, no Quran admiral would expect it. Instead of grinding through outer defenses, humans would cut off the head of the beast. Operation Executioner began. A small fleet of human stealth ships slipped past Dominion patrols, their defenses designed for armadas, not assassinations. Among them was Captain Roar, the man who had stolen the Varric, now leading a mission even more suicidal. Infiltrate the outer space stations, plant detonations along the defense grid. The humans had figured out what no other species had. The Dominion's technology, though powerful, wasn't invincible. Their power grids, supply networks, all vulnerable. The detonations were synchronized, a single command sent. Boom! In an instant, half the Quran planetary defenses went dark, and the real attack began. The Qurans expected an invasion, fleets, ground battles. What they got was annihilation. The first human strike force didn't land. They bombed, launching planet-cracking railgun rounds at key sites. Military installations gone. Supply hubs dust, command in chaos. Warships shot down before they left atmosphere. The humans weren't fighting for territory. They were dismantling an empire, and the Qurans had no idea how to stop them. Deep in the palace, the Quran emperor stared at the holofeeds in disbelief. This is impossible, he whispered. They are primitives. They are weak. A nearby officer trembled. My lord, the humans have... The door exploded, smoke and fire filling the chamber as Roar and his team stormed in, weapons raised. Roar stepped forward, face unreadable. You declared war on humanity, he said coldly. The Emperor, once so arrogant, now cowered. Roar raised his pistol. Big mistake. One shot. The Koran Emperor was dead. Across the Dominion, the news spread like wildfire. The Emperor dead. The homeworld in ruins. Fleets broken. And without leadership, without fear to keep them in line, the enslaved species rose up. Planets revolted. Military officers assassinated. Slave armies turned on their masters. The Dominion was falling apart. And the humans didn't stop. Months later, on a ruined Dominion world, Admiral Kasari stood among the wreckage of what was once the greatest empire in the galaxy. A war that should have lasted centuries had been won in months. She looked at the gathered human soldiers, their faces worn but victorious. They thought they were the apex predators, she said, turning to the burning remnants of the Dominion. They were wrong. For the first time in history, the galaxy had a new ruler. And the humans, they weren't conquerors, they were hunters. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled through fear. Now, humanity had taken their place. Some civilizations celebrated, others trembled, because the galaxy had learned a terrifying truth. You don't declare war on humanity, because if you do, you don't get a war. You get extinction.